In this video, I answer a question about why neck pain and stiffness seem to worsen in the morning and provide some tips and strategies to help reduce it naturally. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Matt Maggio, and I am a chronic pain treatment expert with over 15 years of experience, specifically for neck, shoulder, elbow, and wrist pain. My focus is on finding and fixing nerves that get stuck to muscles with a glue-like substance called adhesion, also known as scar tissue, and then reducing inflammation from chronic pain naturally without the use of medications or injections. This leads to a significant increase in overall functioning, flexibility, and long-lasting pain relief. Just a quick disclaimer on why I make these videos. I make them not to entertain, but specifically for anyone who has been dealing with chronic neck, shoulder, elbow, or wrist pain for at least 6 months. They've tried just about every type of treatment. They've been lied to, overpromised, and underdelivered by the current medical model in hopes of giving some real answers as to what is going on and get to the root cause of the problem to get some long-lasting pain relief finally. Now on to the video. All right, so this week's question came from Amy on YouTube. The question was, why does my neck always feel so awful when I get up in the morning? Some days I can barely turn my head when I get up, and the first few hours of moving around feel like my neck is stuck in a vise. Why does it seem to be worse in the mornings? And what can I do to get rid of all this pain as it's starting to mess up my days and limit my focus at work? Thanks so much for sending that question in, Amy. And just a quick reminder, if you do have a chronic neck, shoulder, elbow, or wrist problem and really struggling to get some answers, getting tired of getting the runaround by the medical system, send in a question, and if I think I can help, I'll make a video and get it out to you. All the information to do that is included in the descriptions wherever you're watching this video, but let's get into it. So what am I going to cover in the video? First is, what are the main causes of chronic neck pain that is worse in the morning? Why is the neck pain worse in the morning? And free and simple strategies to help reduce the pain naturally, and how to not only reduce the pain, but also increase function and move the neck at optimal levels. So the first cause that gets into the muscles is this stuff called adhesion. So what is adhesion? It's basically what's immature collagen fiber. So collagen kind of makes up your muscles and your joints and your tendons and everything like that. And over time, what happens is with repetitive overuse, maybe bad posture, stress, not moving enough, maybe doing too much exercise, the muscles get constantly stretched. And when they get constantly stretched, they don't get enough blood flow, they don't get enough oxygen. So the body starts to pump out this stuff called adhesion, also known as scar tissue, and it gets inside the muscles and causes a lot of issues. When it builds up, first thing it does is it makes the area less flexible, and then it makes it weaker. And a lot of people, when they have sore or tight muscles, they want to stretch it, they want to roll it, they want to get like a deep tissue massage. The problem is to actually get in there and break down that adhesion, it needs very precise focus, depth, tension, and then a really focused movement as the provider is going in there and applying tension and depth. So when you're doing a lot of those other things, all you're doing is kind of stimulating the muscles, and it temporarily blocks the pain, but doesn't actually fix it. So then what happens is that adhesion starts to also form in a ligament in the neck. So there's a really big ligament. You can see here in the photo in the back of the neck, it's called the nuchal ligament. And it is really important in overall neck function and stability. And all the muscles in the back of the neck actually anchor to that ligament in order to produce movement and stability and function in the neck. Adhesion ends up forming there, especially with like bad posture, spending too much time on our devices, looking down, sitting down too much. And then that ligament just continues to get stretched out. When it gets stretched out, it doesn't get enough blood flow and oxygen. And adhesion also forms in there as well. Now the ligament just can't do its normal job. And when it builds up, the force has to start going other places because the ligament can't really hold that spine in place. So a lot of times you'll see like changes in the posture where the head kind of jolts forward and the shoulders around forward as well, because the body's trying to work around all that dysfunction in the ligament and the adhesion that's forming in the muscles around it. Then what happens as that adhesion starts to get bigger and starts to spread out, eventually what it does is it gets stuck to the nerve. So you have your nerves in your body, and they're built with about 15% of extra slack to help make its way where it needs to go. Over time, as that adhesion builds up in the muscles and the ligament, it gets bigger and bigger, and then eventually it gets stuck to the nerve. Now, when it gets stuck, you get things like numbness, aching, burning, tension, pain. And the problem that happens is when the nerve is actually getting stuck, everything else around there tightens up to protect that area. Because if your nervous system doesn't work correctly, you don't work correctly. So the body will sacrifice a lot of other things. It'll sacrifice the muscles, the joints, the tendons, the cartilage, the ligaments to take the pressure off of the nerve. And a lot of times when that nerve is loaded up, you might have like where your shoulder feels like it's up in your ear, or you just feel like everything is really tight in there, those constantly tight traps and everything like that, because that nerve is getting compromised. So a lot of people have bad posture, but that bad posture is actually a reaction to everything else getting stuck, especially with the nerves. Then what happens is you have the adhesion in the muscles, then it goes to the ligaments, then it goes to the nerves, and then eventually it puts some pressure on the disc. So the discs are in between the neck. They're really just like a shock absorber of the spine. They really just help cushion and support everything. They're designed really well to do that. Over time, what happens though is when the ligaments can't produce stability, the muscles don't have enough strength and movement, and the nerves are caught up, the force has to go somewhere and it ends up going to the disc. And now the disc normally can handle like compressive forces going up and down just like this. But over time, as it loses all its like anchors and stability, it starts to slide and grind on itself. Then you start with what's called a bulge, and then eventually they become a herniation. It can cause a lot of big problems in there and a lot of pain. Now, when a disc, people say things like the disc slipped or the disc ruptured. When that happens, you get a ton of pain, you get a ton of inflammation. I always give like a scale of like 0 to 10, 0, no pain, 10, you wouldn't care if we just cut the area off. And a lot of times when people have like an acute or like a fresh disc that slipped or tore, they're usually at like an 8 or 9 out of 10. It's really bad. It's really intense because the body really wants to protect that area because it's getting overloaded. So, why is the neck pain worse in the morning? Because the discs are starting to get damaged. The discs are the last thing that really starts to have a problem because everything builds up. But what happens over time is as you're sleeping, gravity is actually acting on your disc less. So there's less pressure in there. So the disc actually starts to kind of get a little bit bigger and start to squeeze out a little bit. And if you have some of those herniations in there or those bulges, what happens is there's a lot more inflammation that builds up in the morning, especially with like sleeping postures and things like that. So when you first get up, everything just feels stiff. It feels like a vice and you really can't move right. And then also everything is just dehydrated from sleep. A lot of times when you slept, you haven't had any water in like 10 to 12 hours. Everything is just dehydrated in there. And the discs are part mostly made of water and fluid. And when they don't have enough hydration, they can be very inflamed as well and cause a lot of issues. And then the other thing that happens is as you build up that adhesion in the nerves and the muscles and the ligaments, what happens is blood flow can't get in to help get the good stuff that you need, but also blood flow can't get out as well. So a lot of inflammation builds up and pools in that area. So it just feels like crap in the morning when you first get up. And the other thing is you might have just did a little bit too much the day before and now you're feeling it, because sometimes when you have some of that adhesion in there, it actually feels a little bit better when you move it and you're up doing stuff, but a lot of times you don't know to stop because you're just putting more and more pressure on there. And then eventually the discs get loaded up. You sleep on it, you wake up, you're like, oh my gosh, my head hurts, nothing feels right. What the heck did I do? Did I sleep on it wrong? No, most of the time you've actually just done things to it from the day before. So, how to reduce the pain and inflammation naturally? I break it down into 3 phases. So, the first phase is in the morning. When you first get out of bed, the first thing you should do, don't reach for your phone, don't go to the coffee maker, get hydrated. Get in there and get hydrated. I say drink at least 20 to 30 ounces of water. That's going to get everything pumping, get everything moving, and just do some gentle movement. Maybe walk around the house for 5 or 10 minutes. Nothing crazy. Don't stare at your phone. You also want to kind of let it ease into the day. You don't want to stretch it too much or move it around or crack your neck or do any intense exercises. So really get up, get hydrated, get moving, don't stretch it. Don't go and do some crazy workout to start off the day. And then maybe get into some like really gentle breathing exercises to start breathing through your diaphragm, take some pressure off there. Because a lot of times when we're stressed, we breathe through our neck muscles and we breathe through everything up here. And those aren't really designed to help us breathe. They're more to like stabilize our neck. But when they have to do the breathing as well, it really just kind of helps put you in a calm way to kind of get started for the day. If you're someone that like wait till your alarm goes off, you slam it, and then you just run around like your head cut off. You'd be amazed at how much better your neck would feel if you just get up a little 15 minutes early and just prioritize hydration in the morning. Then in the middle of the day, I have this one rule, I call it the 4 finger rule. So basically, I spread out 4 fingers just like this, and I should be able to have 4 fingers in between my chin and my sternum anytime that I'm working on a device. So I don't want to be too far down because that's going to put a lot of stress back there. A big thing I always say is don't bring your eyes to the device, bring the device to your eyes. So you always want to bring things up and keep in that neutral position, because they say as you look down further, it just puts more and more pressure on there. And then take some breaks throughout the day. If you're like stuck on the computer working, set a timer for 15 minutes, and then that last 5 minutes, go and take a walk. And then the next thing that you want to do, I call them 10-minute letdowns or 10-minute laydowns. But basically, if you get a little chance throughout the day, maybe you got a little break, I just go right down on the floor. I lay down, just breathe nice and easy, let some things relax. That's going to help reduce some of that inflammation as well. You already did a good job of getting hydrated first thing in the morning. And then after work, if you do want to exercise harder, do it then. If you want to do like a heavier workout or lift some weights or do something like that, do it then, because things have got to warm up. The discs have kind of accumulated for the day. The inflammation has washed out a bit. And when you get home, though, get that 10-minute letdown or lay down with some ice to just kind of chill and let it out. Let it just kind of chill out for the day. When you get home, you got a lot of stuff you got to do. Just set a timer on your phone, listen to some calming music, and just lay down. And that's going to decompress the disc. It's going to take the pressure off everything so that inflammation doesn't start to pool up. Because if you're not doing this stuff all day long, that inflammation just fills up and your bucket gets full, and then it's still going to be there the next day. Then you're in that never ending loop of your neck pain and just always kind of feeling like crap because your neck is always tired and sore. And all of this can help reduce inflammation significantly and make the mornings not so awful. And the best part about all these are they're free and they're cheap and they really don't take a lot of time. So how to also reduce the pain permanently and function better? First is get the adhesion treated, and the order really does matter. What our providers trained in the PEAK method in my system are, we're experts at finding and fixing adhesion and nerve entrapments in the ligaments and the muscles as well. And what we do is we start by treating the nerves first, then the ligaments, then the muscles. We're able to get in there very precise, very focused, and break down that adhesion. It restores blood flow, oxygen back to the area. The muscles become healthier, stronger, more flexible. And then they take the pressure off of the discs and the joints as well. Then once we do that, we start by working on building up strength in the neck. Your neck actually has a core just like your low back. In the front part of these muscles here, they just get really weak from just constantly being contracted and being overused. So once we clear up all the adhesion in the back part of the neck and the neck can come back to where it's supposed to be, we build up the strength in the front part of the neck as well. And then we also like to build up the strength in the mid back as well, between your shoulder blades and spine, because we just spend so much time with rounded shoulders looking down, and that causes a lot of issues. But the key is we got to get the adhesion treated first and get things moving and functioning better before we ever do the strengthening. Because if we try to strengthen before we fix the tissue, it's not going to work, and it's just going to feel a lot worse long term. And then we also, in our office, in our clinics, is we do a full inflammation paneling testing. We get to see if there's some dietary things that might be triggering it, if there's some problems absorbing nutrients in the body, if there's like increased inflammation, because we get the full picture of what's going on too. And we really make some recommendations on diet, lifestyle modifications. And then if we also need to, we will do some supplementation and make some modifications as needed, using some natural anti-inflammatory supplements to kind of speed this up as well, and just really put you in a good place where you can stay away from, the pain pills and the nasty medicines that really only temporarily address the inflammation, but don't actually fix it, and just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it. So that's all I got in the video. If you're dealing with neck pain and you want to get some help, here's how to do it. The best providers in the world for treating chronic neck pain naturally are trained in my system called the Peak Injury Treatment Method. And when you've had enough of constant neck pain and discomfort, reach out to us directly and request a no-charge injury consultation to get some real answers as to what is going on and on the path to long-lasting pain relief. Links to request a consultation are included in our profile wherever you are watching this video. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one.